Welcome back. Prince Louis once again stole the royal show as the fidgeted, waved and yawned his way through his grandfather's coronation. The young prince, who recently turned 5, stole hearts by waving to royal fans as he travelled to Westminster Abbey in a carriage with Prince and Prince of Wales and his 2 siblings. Ahead of what was to set a busy day for the youngster, expressive Louis was seen yawning wildly as he waited outside the Abbey. Once inside and seated next to his family, he started and pointed towards the ceiling, and his sister Princess Charlotte leaned in to see what he was gesturing at. His mother Kate effectually smiled down at her youngest son as he struggled to stay still, and again yawned. In another sweet moment, Louis held his hand with his older sister, Princess Charlotte, as they waited inside the Abbey. The siblings were late, seen looking at one another and appearing to have a chat as they sat side by side. Last year at his grandmother's Platinum Jubilee celebrations, Louis kept the crowd entertained as he pulled faces and picked his nose while watching the fly past from the Buckingham Palace balcony. At one point, the then 4-year-old clamped his hands firmly over his ears. At this year's event, Louis was initially seated in the front row with Charlotte and his parents. Shortly afterwards, television footage showed he was no longer sitting in the row. He briefly disappeared, with plans always in place for him to leave the service at some point. However, he returned for the national anthem at the end of the service and the procession out of the Abbey. Footage showed him singing God Save the King. Charlotte, meanwhile, who turned 8 this week, was wearing a headpiece which matched her mother's. Prince George, a future king, was a page of honour for his grandfather. He carried the corners of the king's travelling robes as the royal party made its way to the Westminster Abbey. The Duke of Sussex was seated in the 3rd row, 2 rows behind William, but the Duchess of Sussex had remained at home in the US. Louis was smartly decked out in a Hainsgrove garter blue dotskin tunic with specially designed lacework embellishment to the collar, cuffs and fronts made by bespoke Savage, Rowe tailors, Dedge and Skinner. The youngster's leg garment was black, complete with garter blue stripe. Princess Charlotte was dressed in a mini-me version of her mother's outfit. Kate stepped out in regal robes, wearing a deep blue Royal Victorian Order mantle edged in a scarlet over an Alexandra McQueen embroidered ivory silk crepe dress. Charlotte also wore an Alexandra McQueen dress with a cape in ivory silk crepe, a similar silver bullion, crystal and silver thread headpiece by the same milliner. Thank you for listening. Please tell us your thoughts.